by drinking that, and even when you don't have it result in you gaining weight, I think it makes a lot of sense. Let's just say it was scoops of sugar. I think a teaspoon of sugar is about 5 carbs. Is about
Jeez.
5 grams of sugar. So how many scoops are we? Imagine if you, when you looked at your Coca-Cola or your Pepsi, if it just looked like a bunch of scoops of sugar, if it was just piled up, and if it was just a thing of sugar, I'd be like, Nsima, I got this for you. You know, it's
It's disgusting. Yeah.
yeah. You're like, oh, dude, like, yeah, I'd have it. A teaspoon of sugar would taste kind of yummy, and you just down it, right, and it dissolves on your tongue, and sugar's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But to have like 20 of them, like, no, dude, like that would be disgusting.
Yeah. And even in these situations, like we were talking about the other day, how you need to kind of know yourself and know what you can handle within your diet. Like, oh, maybe I am someone who can have a little bit of a Ben and Jerry's, or I am someone who can have a little bit of this. But when it comes to stuff like that, and there's the sheer amount of sugar in a lot of these drinks, those things you just need to actually just get out. Like there shouldn't be necessary. I would suggest, I'm not saying you must, but I would suggest that you just totally get that out of the diet. There's no reason for Coke or soda that has sugar. I think there might be some room for diet soda, just personally an opinion. If you're okay with that, there might be some room for that, but just straight up soda with that amount of sugar, there's no good from it. Even if you can fit it into your macros, I feel like, and this is a feel, like again, it's totally opinion. That's just kind of an excuse. It's not going to do you any good. It's not benefiting you in any way other than you getting that mouth pleasure.
I can't really understand, why. And you got to keep in mind who this is coming from. We are, two guys that have been athletes most of our life, and I think as soon as I kind of found out about how much sugar was in soda, I never drank it again, pretty much. Times as an adult of having Coca-Cola and stuff has been very few and far between. I grew up in a household where my mom was really heavy and she was trying to figure out diet stuff. And so even though we had cookies, we had the paradox of having like diet soda. And so I got used to the flavor of diet soda. But as I got older and as I recognized that, like, I don't think soda is going to get me where I want to go anyway, I just ditched soda altogether and never really had much of an issue. Now, I can also see the other side where people really enjoy it, but just see if you can find an alternative. Like, it might take a couple weeks for you to get used to something a little bit different. It might take time, but what if you get a diet soda and what if you squeeze some lime or lemon into it? That's some sugar that you put in there, but it's a tiny amount.
What is it that you do? You did the carbonated.
Yeah, all I do is just it's like soda water. You know, some people say it tastes like static because it's just carbonated water.
Yeah,
but because growing up, I love drinking Coke like most kids. It's candy in
Tastes great.
liquid form.
Syrupy, yeah.
But what I noticed, and as I got older, that eventually turned to beer. I loved having beer and that bite in the back of your throat. So when I would drink carbonated water, it would kind of not remind me of it, but I would be just as satisfied with just plain ass water that happened to have some carbonation behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do that, and then you can add. I mean, that's really kind of like the progression, right? You can get used to, we'll just say like a zero Sprite or whatever, and then add something to that. Okay, and then you can go to carbonated soda and then add lime to that, or even like essential oils. Sometimes they can be very tasty. But yeah, no, my whole family's on that now. My daughter's 12 years old, and she will, when theaters were open, we went to one specific theater because you can get like a popcorn and a soda, and she would always 100%, the whole thing is there, and she would always go straight for the carbonated water. And I remember I was so proud, I was so happy because it will take some time, and we do have people in our family that look at us crazy because we do enjoy it. But man, when you do, it's like, there's no guilt, but like it's just it's great, and it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't go against you. you know, whether or not you have a physique goal or not, or you just want to be healthy, like it does not hurt you, at least to my knowledge. I don't know if carbonation messes you up somewhere else, but I mean, shit, in comparison to any kind of sugary drink, not even talking about soda, but like high C or something, you know, like so one of those silly drinks that again is just nothing but syrup and water. But
yeah, and look at what a lot of kids drink. You know, they drink a lot of stuff like that, and they have these little apple juice things,
fruit
and
juices. Yeah,
and at least with kids, at least sometimes these things are smaller. There's like kind of smaller little juice box and stuff. But you know, when you hear the word juice box, you got to think sugar box. Like it's just it's a box of sugar. There's nothing wrong with having some of these things around here and there, but there's brands now that have like reduced the amount of sugar that are in them, has half the amount of sugar in them. And yes, your kids might be like, you know, they might be kind of frustrated with you because they recognize you're trying to get them a healthy one. You say, okay, well, you know what? This is all I'm buying from now on, or I'll just buy water. I do understand people's addiction with food. And I can totally be on board with that. I can totally understand, like, you want to run out and get some tacos, and you want to hit up McDonald's here and there, and you want to have some pizza. Like, all of us can agree, like, that shit's really brutal to get away from. And it's taken me decades. I think it's taken you a long time to recognize, like, man, like, I got a couple snacky foods that, even though they're not that bad, I need to figure out a way to ditch them. They're not great. They're not useful for me. And so all three of us can be in agreement of like, we understand how people get into these situations. But when it comes to liquid stuff, alcohol is kind of I would put alcohol into a separate category because there's some real addiction going on there. And that's just a harder topic to tackle. And I can even get on board with alcohol. I can understand. If you came to me and said, man, my weakness is I love to drink, I'd be like, I get it, man. It feels great to be fucked up. It feels great to be like, how good does it feel to be drunk?
Yeah, it's nice.
You know, if we just had
it's nice.
Yeah, if we had a couple beers or a couple glasses of wine right now, like we would feel better than when you don't. Like you're smiling, you talk more, it's awesome. That's why we take Mind Bullet.
Yeah.
It's all understandable, but the soda stuff, man, that's really got to be something that is one of those non-negotiable things. I think in your diet somewhere you got to have, and in your training even, you got to have some areas where you're like, this is not something I will ever compromise for myself or really for anybody else. I'm going to stick to my guns on this.
Okay. What are some substitutes that we can give people? Because I mean, I know I would even say there are some caveats with diet soda. I noticed myself, when I do have some like diet ginger ale is my thing, I'll have that every now and then. But it does like mess with like when I take a dump a little bit later, I'm like, diet ginger ale, it's correlative, right?
Something's happening.
There's no calories in it, but there's something going on with
poop's,
that.
Bubbling.
It's not a good consistency versus when I don't have it. So I know that's not right. Positive, right. But it's better than full sugar soda, right? So it's an option, but I know you do Zevia and stuff, right?
Yep.
How do you like that?
I like them. I like them a lot. And there's different options. There's like, they make tea, they make soda.
Those teas are really good.
The one thing I don't love about the soda is that their soda is very, very bubbly. Like it's crazy bubbly. So, but what I do to solve that problem is just pour it into a glass. And I let it, get some of the bubbles away. It's good enough. For me, it's it's pleasing enough for me to have it, There's other options. There's regular diet sodas. There's like a Coke Zero, or you said Sprite. Like that stuff it's so.
They even make Mountain Dew Zero now.
Yeah, those things are.
I'm scared
They all taste really good. I think where some people have, and you're talking about, your digestion. Some people have some concern over what it does to like the gut microbiome. I don't know if we have enough information gathered. Some people just feel like it's a real gut bomb and it's not, great for you in that way. Some people think it's cancerous. Again, I don't know if we have enough information, for that, because I think probably the most cancerous or a thing that's of greater concern is to gain body weight and to be a lot heavier than you should be. And so if we compare the two, if we're like the alternative is to drink regular soda versus having a diet soda, obviously versus if you go versus a regular soda, a diet soda, and water, we would prefer that you drink water. But trying to give you some, other things that you can do. I would just basically say for people in general, try to work some of these things out of your nutrition, out of your plan, because when it comes to liquid drinks, it's my belief that the only calories that you should have that come from liquid drinks should be protein shakes.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this too, like this packet right here of Element is the third one I've had today. I had one before jiu-jitsu.
Great.
Yeah, it's
good.
really freaking good. Like the orange is still my favorite. So I think like, again, this is another thing you can do. I've tried it before in like sparkling water. You got to be careful not to let it burst everywhere. But
It's
after
like a
it
science
mixes
experiment.
up, after it mixes up, it's actually really good. So that could be again another substitute. But now it's like you're getting electrolytes with that, right? So,
Yeah.
And now you're getting a benefit.
Mhm.
And a lot of food cravings and stuff come from not having the nutrients that we need. I've heard people say before, sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're actually just thirsty.
yeah.
And maybe you're not even really actually necessarily just thirsty. Maybe you are dehydrated, which doesn't necessarily have to do with just drinking more water, because drinking more water can dehydrate you further
Mhm.
because you need electrolytes. You need stuff for it to stick to your body. And if you're somebody that is on kind of a low carb protocol, which all of us have done before, a lower carb protocol is going to require that you have some more of these nutrients, because you're going to not be holding on to water in the muscles maybe the way you normally would if you ate more carbohydrates.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then our buddy Raleigh, I forgot what his screen name is. He mentioned the core protein powder or core protein drinks.
Oh, those are amazing.
Core power, that's what I meant to say.
Never had it.
Dude, they're so. I mean, we get them for Jasmine. They it's one of those things where like I look at it and I'm just like, man, I can't believe I'm going to spend this much money on 4 small protein drinks, but if I can get her to start her day with like over 20 grams of protein,
Oh, snap.
have that with some
like
eggs,
bodybuilding milk.
dude, it is so good. And the thing is, it tastes phenomenal.
Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this thing? I'm tripping. What's
I
going
think I
on?
might have mentioned it on the show before.
Yeah, that's how I got it.
26 grams of protein. I think there's about 7 carbs in there.
It's
And
incredible.
it's like 160 calories or something. and
Yeah,
if I
very,
remember,
very low sugar, like if any at all.
4.5 grams of fat. I
Dude,
think it's only like
it's
3
really
to 5
good.
grams of sugar.
Yeah, she loves drinking them, and I'm just like, yeah, like I will spend whatever is necessary to get her to drink those.
Mm.
The hardest part is not grabbing them every day and drinking them myself.
Mm-hmm.
They have vanilla, they got chocolate, they got
Yeah.
strawberry. They have like strawberry banana. Like they got,
man,
they got
I
it.
haven't gotten those.
And they even have ones that have more protein. There's ones that have like 40 grams of protein, but
Whoa.
those taste a little bit more protein shake-ish.
Mhm.
The one that has 26 grams is like a hybrid, between like just regular milk and like a chocolate milk, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah,
Pretty damn
those are
good.
great.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic.
One of the crazy things, guys, and you may have noticed it too, when you start to, I guess, change your diet and eat higher quality foods, right? Let's say you do get soda out of your diet and you don't eat Ben and Jerry's like that much or that like often at all. You don't eat these foods. When you do come back and have some of it, you don't feel good. It's like if you're doing it for so long, you become used to that feeling afterwards, right? That like you just get a little bit tired or you just don't feel, it's normal for you to not feel that great. But then when you start feeling really, really good, you then start to be like, after you drink an actual soda, you're like, oh my God,
Right.
my stomach feels weird and I'm tired now. I don't have that type of energy I had. It's like you can understand why we want to stay away from it.
Mhm.
It brings you down.
Yeah, it's usually not what you remember either. You think it's going to be this incredible experience and you're like, fuck, like, man, I threw it all away for that.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't worth it.
You guys want to know what my kids drink at dinner time every night?
What?
It's their favorite thing.
Oh, man,
I'm really trying to give me a
I
clue.
know
Got a
they
clue?
like Zevias, but I don't know. I'll just go with water.
Steak shake.
It might be the steak shake. That might take over. But yeah, just water.
Yeah.
They drink
Oh,
water.
okay.
Neither one of them care for the Zevias that we have.
Mhm.
Quinn has just kind of adopted this, nutritional like practice where she just doesn't drink calories. She just, I mean, she might ask me to make a protein shake sometimes. But you know, she's a 13-year-old girl, and maybe she wanted to, you know, practice something that was simple for her to follow that could allow her to feel good about herself in the way that she wants to. And she has kind of, you know, I don't see her doing anything else with her diet. You know, she's not making like these real, she eats pretty healthy in general. And if we have ice cream in the freezer, she'll eat the ice cream 2 or 3 days out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't have it every night. But I'm imagining there's something going on in her brain where she's probably having some conversations about this stuff. We have all kinds of different drinks in the fridge. A lot of times I'm like, hey, you want this? You want that? You know, you want milk with breakfast? You want water? You want, you know, every time it's water. My son, he's a little different. He'll drink a Coke here and there. But we don't ever have Coke. So it's not an option.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes with your children, you know, it's great to give them healthy options, but if you provide the healthy options and they are going to eventually get hungry. They eventually are going to, you know, parents have a hard time sometimes staying in their lane and being strict with their kid. But Nsima, it seems like your mom was pretty strict. I don't think she would be too pumped if you were like, Mom, I'm not really, you know, I'm not hungry tonight.
No.
You would probably get in a lot of trouble, right?
I'd get in a lot of trouble. And it's like, even if we went to like one of these African parties, right? And I like picked up a Sprite, she'd look at me and she would just look at me. She wouldn't say anything. She'd just look at me and I'd go put it back. She didn't let me drink soda. That wasn't a thing. And like, yeah, she just knew how bad it was, but that's the thing. I got used to that. That's
Did she
why
ever explain?
She just said it's not good. She just said it was a lot of shit. Like, she didn't have crazy nutritional knowledge.
Bad for your teeth, or
she was just like, it's not good for you. That's right. like it's not like she had some nutritional background over there. She was always very health minded, but she just knew that soda was not something good that I should be drinking often, if actually ever. So like, that's why for me, like, I don't drink soda now. I don't have a yearning to want to drink it because I would just never drink it as a kid. I got used to it too. After a certain point, like when we'd go to these things, I just wouldn't go for it because I just really didn't want it, you know? So that's all you got to do.
And I think, you know, when it comes to the stuff that we have in our house, if we're left with more convenient, healthier choices, like, it's easier to make those choices over and over again. I want to stick to this topic of like the liquids because I think there's just so much to cover here. A real tough spot for people is their coffee. And people are like, I can't deal without my morning coffee. I cannot tell you guys how many people I've talked to that they're like, I have to cut out my coffee, you know, because I'm telling them, hey, you got to, you know, cut back on sugar. And then we start to go over like, where are we finding sugar in your diet, you know? And they're like, oh, I like a little bit of sugar, you know, in my coffee, or they have some syrup put in there from Starbucks or something like that. And I come to find out that not that many people actually like coffee. Like, it's been a lie the whole time. Like, you don't actually really like coffee because, you know, you're not going to drink it black because you're recognizing that it's like, it's pretty damn bitter. How do we peel back that bitter flavor from coffee? Well, if we put a lot of cream in there, you annihilate most of that bitter flavor. You don't get that same like kind of note on the back of your tongue that you normally get from coffee. If you throw sugar in there, you know, now we're dealing with a different set of circumstances. So what do you guys do? How do you guys, I mean, I don't really mind drinking black coffee because I don't mind doing stuff. I do a lot of stuff just for the effect, and I don't really care that much. Even when it comes to drinking, like, I mean, I do kind of enjoy red wine, and I do kind of enjoy wine, but I don't actually think it tastes good. I don't think any alcohol tastes good. But I also don't mind just getting right to the point and just doing a shot of something. You know, just you know, having some vodka or something. Like, I don't really care because I just want to be a little bit drunk. But I don't want the extra calories from it, so I don't mind doing stuff for just the effect. So for me, the flavor isn't the most important thing. So what do you guys do with your coffee to still get flavor, but maybe not add a lot of calories or not add a lot of sugar to it?
The big thing, I mean, I've said this is like probably the 8th time I'm mentioning on the podcast because I freaking love it. Like, I don't mind the taste of coffee, never have. But because we have that chocolate element, right? When you add chocolate element into it, it tastes okay. You know, it's a little bit salty. But then I just use a calorie-free coffee creamer.
Coffee Mate or whatever, right?
Yeah, calorie-free Coffee Mate, you know? And I add a little bit of that in, and that literally, it's a little bit sweet, but there's like barely any sugar in it. I don't annihilate it, but it just goes really well together because the salt, the sweet, and the bitter. And I have that now every single morning because it tastes really, really good, and I don't have to use a lot of the creamer.
There's no calories in it?
There's
like 10 or something.
It's very few.
Right, I see.
But it's not anything.
It's a tiny little shot, right? That little peel back thing that you get, or is that?
No, I got it from a thing at Costco. So there's
okay. Is it powder or is it liquid?
It's liquid.
So
okay.
is it just like zero sugar?
I know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Got it.
Yeah. So it tastes great, especially with the electrolytes too. It mixes really well.
That's
right?
dope.
So
yeah, I'm similar. Like I don't love black coffee, but like I appreciate it. Like whenever like there's some brewing here at the gym, I'm like, yeah, fucking like let's go, let's party. But like if I have time, yeah, no, I will. Like we said on a Clubhouse earlier today, like I'll let the coffee cool off a little bit, so that way it's not piping hot, and then I'll throw Slingshot protein into it. And sometimes, and this might sound weird, but I will actually just throw in a little bit of zero sugar maple syrup.
And then sweetener,
that's
makes sense.
That's my sweetener. Other times, like I could just throw sucralose in it or whatever. I have in the past used the zero sugar. It's like French vanilla syrup. I'm not sure what the brand is called. They're all over the place. It's like some fancy name, but it's just like regular ass like sweetener. But yeah, no, I'll do that, and I do that on days where I'm gonna have breakfast, because if I have protein when I'm like fasting, or I'm not planning on eating like a solid meal, that will bother my stomach because of maybe just the protein kind of gets the engine running a little bit too early. Whereas when I have just coffee, like just straight black coffee, like I can drink that and feel great. You know, I don't feel any upset stomach or anything like that. But when I do have like a meal, I will have it with protein. You know, in the coffee, and then sometimes I won't even do the protein. I'll just add the maple syrup and just mix that up, and it's really good. It surprisingly tastes a lot like a Starbucks coffee. I know that sounds insane, but it I don't know, maybe that's all they do, because it seriously, like it resembles, in my opinion, it resembles like a coffee shop coffee from these places that do pump a bunch of shit inside their coffee.
I do want to kind of mention too, like it's important for people to experiment and do stuff that feels good for them and that they feel like is working for them, because we'll hear some maniac be like, whoa, Nsima, you can't have that creamer because you're breaking your fast, and like not every variable has been tested. Like we don't know, like by having 50 calories, some people will say, hey, look, you keep it under 50 calories, it's still fasting. But I think truthfully, we don't actually know, because the diet that I'm on is a fasting mimicking diet. It's supposed to still mimic all the benefits of fasting while you're able to eat a little bit. So I think, fuck what you heard and just try, just do stuff in your day to day and see how it feels and works for you. A lot of the stuff I do is a little different. It's unconventional. I utilize probably a protein sparing fast really, really often. And all that means is in the morning when I have my coffee, I usually throw in a scoop of Slingshot protein and some collagen in there. And then normally it's black coffee with just a scoop of protein in it. There's not usually anything else added to it. I usually don't add any fat to it, but occasionally when I want to get more pop and get more flavor, I'll throw a little bit of heavy cream in there. But what I learned about coffee, especially coffee by itself, for me personally, the amount of heavy cream that I need to cut back the flavor and have it be worth it is too great. Like I need to turn the coffee to be very, very light. Really? So I'm not able to use a splash of heavy whipping cream. Now maybe I'd be able to use a splash of what you're talking about, because maybe it has a flavor, like a little bit of a flavor profile to it. And then adding the element in there, of course, is adds a whole nother thing to it. But For me personally, I'm like, I don't really want to, think about you think about your energy balance throughout the day. Like, do you really want to spend 600 calories on a liquid coffee? Like, that doesn't really seem like, it just doesn't seem like a good spot to spend your calories. I'd love to see somebody eat that in food.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that people do throughout the day that I think they're not really understanding that it's not working well for them. Like, if you end up in your pantry at night, every night, smashing a bunch of food, it can be a habit. It can be something that you need to work on breaking, but it could be driven by a lot of your behavior during the day. Like, maybe you're like, man, I really love intermittent fasting, but if you're intermittently fasting and then you're intermittently fatting later on in the evening, maybe you need to re-examine. Like, maybe when you wake up, the first thing you should do is eat like 6 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Have a big omelet, like have a big meal, because maybe the strategy that you have at the moment isn't working great. Or if you're getting a lot of calories from your bulletproof coffee in the morning, which I'm a huge fan of bulletproof coffee. I like some of the benefits of it, some of the effect of it, but I sometimes see people, they're working towards, doing their best, and they're working towards their goal, but they're doing some things that are sabotaging them, and they're maybe not really examining kind of the whole picture. If you dieted really well, let's just say you ate chicken breast and broccoli for 5 days, but on Saturday and Sunday, you went haywire and you ate a lot more food than what you were trying to get rid of during the week with the chicken and the vegetables. The diet didn't work. You have to go back. Like, okay, that was cool that you were able to do that for 5 days, but now you're going to do that next week again. And during the course of the week, you see the scale go down 10 pounds, and then boom, it goes back up 10 after Sunday's over because you demolished food all weekend. It just meant that you forced yourself into a situation where you are allowing yourself to be way too hungry. You cut way back too far. So just examine what's working for you, what has worked for you in the past. I think some of us already know. Some of us have already done it.
Yeah. And then, as far as breakfast is concerned, I know we're talking about, having coffee in the morning and fasting, but we just did have Alan on, right? If you're someone who, let's say you really do like breakfast, we did talk about the benefits of having like if you do want carbs in your diet, carbohydrates in the earlier part of the day, and glucose regulation. It's better, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you could try, having your coffee in the morning, maybe having a meal, some eggs, and if you want to add some carbs or whatever to it, go ahead. And then stopping eating earlier in the day. Maybe stop eating at 5 p.m. and see how you handle that. I know that for me personally, I don't like that. But for some people, that might be something that really works well. So you can give that switch a shot.
It might work really well because most of the people that we know, and I know from my own experience, if I'm going to sabotage myself, it's not during the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the lights go out. It's later on in the evening where I'm going to mess up and want to kind of sit in front of the TV and just relax. You're like, oh man, I'm just kind of letting myself kind of recalibrate, and tomorrow I'll have a bunch of energy again and I'll feel good tomorrow. But for now, I just want to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. I want to be like not even comfortable, but like favorable. I want to like sit here and have a bowl of cereal while I'm watching my favorite show or favorite movie or whatever it might be. I know that many, many people fall into that trap. So imagine, even if it was only a couple times a week, maybe if it's only once a week, say every Wednesday, I'm gonna employ this because I want to see how it works for me, and I'm gonna shut down my food at 3 p.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth a shot because a lot of times if you're not willing to try some of these things, you're not going to really ever know what's going to suit you best and what's going to work the best for you.
Yeah. Speaking of trying new things, I don't know if I'm ready to officially announce it, but the flat iron steak from Piedmontese might have been dethroned.
Oh, by what?
The Dynasty center cut, grass-fed, grass-finished ribeye.
That's a mouthful.
I know.
I think that's actually a Dynasty. Say that one more time.
Dynasty
please.
cut,
mm-hmm.
Center cut. I don't know if it says it's grass-fed, grass-finished. Maybe it is. Dynasty cut, center cut, Dynasty collection, center cut. See, now you messed me up. The center cut ribeye from Piedmontese.
Yeah.
It's bigger, it's thicker, and it only has 3.75 grams of fat
Yeah, I need them to send that one
for
somewhere.
like 56 grams of protein.
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy that actually.
It's freaking bananas.
Mm-hmm.
I have such like a huge like admiration for the flat iron steak that
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time saying that that's now my favorite steak, but it is freaking close.
Yeah. No, I've had their ribeyes recently. I didn't have the Dynasty whatever, but
Yeah, dude.
my shipment was a lot of ribeyes, and now the ribeyes are my favorite. Like I want ribeyes all the time now. So
yeah. And I know, Mark, you're not currently
sorry, Mark.
consuming
Oh,
food, so we
man, I forgot.
apologize.
We just forgot what's going on here.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
But by like Friday night, are you able to even consume anything from Piedmontese?
I think
Or maybe Saturday?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah, Friday. Friday, I get an opportunity to eat again. On day 4 of a 5-day fast, and on Friday, I'll probably still fast a little bit on Friday. That's the plan anyway. I don't really have to, but I figured I'll just eat later in the day because it's easier for me sometimes. And then I need to come off the fast kind of slowly, because you have to be careful you don't blow your stomach up and kind of hurt yourself in a way, or just end up on the toilet all night.
Yeah.
So the first thing out of the fast will be some bone broth, and then maybe about an hour later, I'll do like some rice and some fish. Try to keep the fat content moderate, kind of keep and some vegetables probably in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the particular reasons on why, but you're not supposed to eat a lot of protein. The guy that worked on this his name is Walter Longo, and he's from USC, I believe. I think I've been saying UCLA, but I think he's from USC.
Oh, okay.
He's a researcher, and he did some studies on some mice and had these crazy results. But what makes him different, and what makes this diet different, the fasting mimicking diet, is the fact that he's done a lot of research on humans, and a lot of the research is showing like these just crazy examples, time and time again, of ridding a lot of people of diseases and being able to fight back against things like cancer, being able to have better benefits from chemotherapy than what people had in the past, being able to the word cure is like, doctors aren't allowed to use the word cure, so you got to be careful with that word, but they literally have reversed people's multiple sclerosis. That's a hard word for me to say.
Wow.
They have reversed diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's.
Dementia?
Yeah, dementia. Yeah. So they think that 50% of our population by the year 2050, which seems like it's far away, but it's not.
No.
By the year 2050, we'll have dementia, we'll have Alzheimer's. Because of the direction that we're heading in, because they believe it's they call it type 3 diabetes, because they believe that it's all from the same spot. It all comes from the same spot, as Alan Flanagan pointed out. It appears that a lot of these things are coming from insulin resistance, which is basically the beginning of diabetes, and even heart disease is related to that, and even cancer is related to that. As much as I've been talking about this, I sometimes just don't think. I'm not sure if people don't care or if they don't believe me, because, I'm not an MD. I didn't go to school for nutrition and stuff like that. So I think sometimes maybe, but I look at the best researchers in the world. I try to dig up information. It's really rare for me to not know, some of the big names that are in these fields. There's a couple people I'm sure that I still need to discover, because there's some people that are really down that rabbit hole, and they don't even care to really speak to the public yet, because they're not really sure of exactly what they're onto quite yet. And there's a lot of researchers that are like that. They're like, I don't even want to talk because I don't even know what I'm finding. And as I keep digging down the rabbit hole, I keep finding different answers, and I don't want to, Ron Penna is like that. Like, Ron Penna has some really great stuff to share with us on this podcast, but he's like, I'm not there yet. I need to wait. I need to wait to give you this information on cancer and stuff, because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing, which is great. But because I'm not a doctor, I'm able to talk about these things in a way that maybe they wouldn't be able to get away with. And I can start to tell people about it. And maybe people say, hey, my uncle was just diagnosed with something. What's it going to hurt if he messes around with a keto diet? Or what's it going to hurt if I just share the information with them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's books written on this stuff now. There's books written about talking about utilizing a ketogenic diet to fight against cancer. Ron Penna himself had a keto pet sanctuary where most of the pets, not all of them, most of the pets went into remission from cancer. I mean, that's some of the stuff that's going on with fasting and a keto style diet it's real and it's here to stay. And fasting is only going to become more and more popular the way I see it. You know, it kind of seems like a fad thing that's going to come and going to go, but it is going to be, I think, really, really important for our medicine as we move forward in the future with how sick people are getting from having food addictions.
Well, just think about what's going on with you right now. Like we were talking and you were mentioning how it's been a long time since you've been able to have multiple nights in a row of good sleep. Like that, you said it's been kind of years since that's happened, correct?
Yeah. It's been like decades, basically.
It's been,
yeah.
And think if because what you're doing right now is pretty simple. You know, if you break it down, it's pretty simple.
Oh, it couldn't be any more simple. Like, I mean, the instructions are you have 1,100 calories on day 1, and then you have 800 calories until the last day, and you do that for 5 days.
But are you trying to get your calories from certain types of foods? Like, do you want, like, when you were walking, what is it that you're trying to do in terms of the amount of protein, fat, carbs?
For me specifically, because I have a keto background and I have a background of doing some fasting previously, I was like, let me kind of stick with more of a ketogenic style of nutrition. And after listening to Peter Itia, I would like to try his way as well, because what he mentioned was keto is not going to, it gives you density, but it doesn't give you volume, you know? And so if you're going to eat like rice and vegetables, which you can have on this diet, again, this is all research from Walter Longo, and he has a company called Prolong. You can check out the website. He sells a fasting box, which sounds like a gimmick. But this is all stuff, again, like I would be with you, I would be with everybody in saying that this guy is full of shit and that he's just trying to make money, but I can't say that because he has research behind him. He has actual evidence. This is what worked in his trials. He actually utilized these things. For myself personally, because I decided to go the keto route, I'm mainly just having bulletproof coffee, and I've eaten a couple of olives. But I heard kind of some varying things on what you can eat and what you can't eat. So I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what you're supposed to be able to eat and not eat. So I've just kind of forego really eating any food. The only calories I'm consuming are mainly coming from the bulletproof coffee, and I've had like 10 olives in the last couple of days. I had 5 olives 2 days ago and 5 olives last night, and just something to chew on, just something to give me some salt.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's but my fear was that like if I was to eat anything that I'd get hungrier. But I haven't had that happen. I think next time I go to do this, I have looked into the information quite a bit, but I haven't really seen, you know, what kind of you're supposed to be able to eat some vegetables that are like low glycemic, and if you think about eating 800 calories of low glycemic vegetables, that might be a pretty good serving of food. The next time I do it, I might do something like that, because I think it's important during the time of this fast, while the stomach is kind of empty, to, you know, feed your gut. And I think I just think we're only in the beginning stages of learning about what to feed the gut. I know like Dave Asprey, who we're going to have on the show coming up, he's going to have a lot of things to say about, you know, what you should feed your gut while you're fasting. And I know people talk about prebiotics, and Joel Green knows a lot about this kind of stuff. Yeah. But anyway, I'm doing this diet to help my sleep, and I'm on day 4 of it. And I've had 3 nights in a row of good sleep. Last night was the first night that I can remember in probably about 4 or 5 years that I only woke up once. Now, I did go to bed a little bit later last night, and I didn't sleep as long, so that could have been part of it. I'm not going to attribute everything. Like I don't want to ever report to people the wrong way. So I got to kind of tell you like what's going on with me. I got some blood work done a few weeks ago, or maybe almost a few months ago now. And my testosterone levels were fucking crazy. a lot of my other levels were crazy too. My testosterone levels were at 5,000.
Holy shit.
I have never seen anything like that from myself, or never even heard of anything like that from anybody else.
Is
Wait,
that
why?
the maximum that they can even read up to? Like,
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I can go higher, I guess,
Okay.
but
Do you know why this happened? Like,
I mean, I kind of know why. I don't know.
Holy shit.
I wasn't taking, like, in my opinion, I wasn't taking that much stuff, but apparently I was. I was taking stuff every other day. I've done stuff like this before.
yeah.
I was taking testosterone. We're gonna get shadow banned all over again here.
Schnestosterone.
This guy that I know was taking.
There you go. Allegedly, he was taking.
Not coming up in this video. You're gonna hear me say. Testosterone, trenbolone, and masteron. And I was taking those 3 every other day. So about 3 days a week. Here and there, I'd miss a shot.
Yeah.
But it was really small amounts. Like, I was like, I'm going to take the combination of the 3 to get the benefit of each one, but only do like half a cc of each one. Normal circumstances, when I was powerlifting, it was always like, you know, if the syringe isn't full, it's empty, is what I used to say.
Holy shit.
You know, you got to commit to the whole thing. So you got a 3 cc syringe. You load that
3
whole
cc's
Yeah.
of stuff.
yeah.
Oh my God.
You load that whole thing up, and you just go through that process. You know, after retiring from powerlifting, I don't really think that way anymore. So I was doing something that I thought was gonna, you know, I know that trenbolone is dangerous. I know it's not a great, you know, a great usage of even your steroids. You know, it's not. It's one that can be detrimental because it can mess with your sleep. It can mess with your hormones in a lot of ways. Along with my testosterone being through the roof, a bunch of other stuff was thrown off. It turns out your body doesn't love your testosterone levels to be at 5,000. It can upset your liver. It can upset your kidneys. So I had these other markers that were going on that were inflammatory. So the doctor that I work with, he said, man, he's like, you know, you should just ditch everything. And I was like, everything? He's like, you should just come off I'm like, all right, I can do that. And I was like, how long you want me to do it for? He's like, well, let's do it for a time where we get your levels to come way down and get your body to calm down for a little bit. He's like, that might take about a month. And I'm like, okay. So I came off everything for a month. And then now I'm on a much more reasonable dose. But before I did that, I got tested again. My testosterone levels, I forget what my estrogen was. My estrogen was through the roof, but I wish I could remember. I want to say like 400 or something, which is very high. My testosterone dropped down from 5,000 to 141. You also need to keep in mind that your testosterone, your total testosterone, is not what most people really care about in terms of your marker for your testosterone. They care more about your free testosterone, but I don't remember what those numbers were. I could easily look them up, but I don't recall exactly what they were. My estrogen level didn't move a whole lot.
Wow.
It moved down, but it was still at like 200, which is I cannot actually recall what it was. I do know that some women have a testosterone level of around 200, and mine was 141 for a minute there. Now I'm back on like a TRT, like a reasonable dosage, and I'm on 200 milligrams of testosterone per week. And I'm not taking anything else. You know, normally, like, I'm like stacking shit together and you know, trying to do things that way. But so the reason why it's important for me to tell you that is that can also be part of the reason why I'm sleeping better. Maybe, you know, while I'm on that amount of testosterone, if it had inflammatory markers heading in the wrong direction for me, that could have also been a big part. So I don't want to just say, hey, look, if you do this fast, you're going to have great results with your sleep the way that I'm having them. But I do think I'm seeing a lot of evidence that the fasting is helping. And I'm, at the very least, seeing evidence that I probably need to eat earlier in the day. And I need to have my my eating window, you know, end at, you know, no later than like around, for me, family-wise, it would work if it ended around 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And then go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. That would work out really, that's something manageable that I can do, and it gives me 4 hours to digest my food. I think that's enough space. Time will tell when I go back to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, even though there's a lot of factors here, if what you're doing is helping to kind of reset your circadian rhythm, it's a pretty easy process nonetheless. And if some people could do this that have had the same problems with their sleep like you've had for years, that's much better than, being dependent on sleeping pills or melatonin or whatever in the long run to try to move the needle. I'm really curious as to, the doctor's explanation on how this, why this happens. I wish we could have that explanation, but I mean,
we'll get a lot more of it, but I can explain it.
Okay.
So sleep apnea, I got a sleep study done. It showed that I didn't breathe for 10 seconds or longer 154 times.
Mm-hmm.
There was some other stuff in the sleep study that didn't look great, but it didn't appear that I was going to die anytime soon. It's a mild form of sleep apnea, according to Dr. Gould, who read it. Anyway, with sleep apnea, we can agree that when oxygen is shut off to the brain, it's not great for the brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get knocked out. Anyone who's ever been concussed or knocked out before, we can recognize you got your brain scrambled. It doesn't feel good, right? A lot of times what happens when a UFC fighter gets knocked on the chin or gets kicked upside his head, the lights go out, boom, like that, because the oxygen is shut off to the brain momentarily, and it just shuts the person out. So imagine not breathing, 154 times for 10 seconds. What is that doing to your brain? What are some of the things that we experience day to day? What are they doing to our brain? The artificial light and all these things. It's offsetting our circadian rhythm, which is one thing. But what was happening to me by not breathing, we can speculate, and I don't know if there's evidence of this or not. I'd have to research it, and I don't think Dr. Gould knows either. But it would make sense to agree that some type of brain damage, some type of regression, no matter how minute, it makes sense that there would be some if I'm not breathing in the middle of the night. Also, if I'm just functioning in a more stressed state. We know what stress can do. We've talked to a lot of great people on the show about being overstressed. So just imagine maybe every other week you're walking around with a backpack. Every other week, as you're walking around with this backpack, you carry it everywhere. Somebody throws a half pound in there. You don't really even notice it. Another week goes by, someone throws a half pound, and after a period of time, without you even recognizing it, you're lugging around an extra 10 pounds. And I'm not referring to body weight. I'm referring to, this is kind of representing stress. You have something kind of pulling you down, right?
Yeah.
And you have, along with that stress, you also are causing some damage to your brain from not being able to breathe during your sleep. So the stress that you're handling every day is much harder than it needs to be because you're not resting the way that you should. So that's taking a toll on you as well and kind of aging you faster than you should be aging.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not sleeping, not resting, you're not recuperating, you're not recovering from each and every day. What does fasting do? Fasting is anti-aging. Fasting causes autophagy. Fasting brings in new cells and it gets rid of old ones. All the way to the point for people that have an autoimmune disorder, your cells can be autoimmune. And by fasting, you can kill those motherfuckers and kick them out and bring in new cells. That is absolutely fucking crazy to me. People that have skin disorders, people really need to look at this and take this very seriously. This could be your medicine. This legitimately could be your medicine. And this is why we hear so many people talking about fasting. We hear Peter Itea and all these other people, talking about the benefits and how it could potentially help other people. I think it can help millions of Americans get rid of millions of different problems that they have. But for me, what I'm interested in, because fasting can help you produce more stem cells, maybe these stem cells, and maybe through the process of autophagy, maybe I can help fix my brain and help heal my brain. And as a benefit of all that going on, maybe it'll be a lot easier to fall asleep, and maybe I don't need a sleep apnea machine, because maybe this is all speculation. Maybe we're finding out a little bit more about what sleep apnea really is, because a sleep apnea machine is not a cure for sleep apnea. It's a treatment.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, now we figured out a way for you to get to sleep, which is great. And you might have better nights of sleep, and that's a nice Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
But I still got a cut on my arm. I'm still wounded. I'm still hurt. I'm still don't function the way that I should. And so in combination with fasting and taking in certain vitamins, vitamin B and vitamin D and vitamin K, and along with waking up in the morning at 6:45 and getting the looking at the sunset. I've been doing that. I've been wearing my blue blocker glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I've been stretching. I'm just bringing it all, because why not give it a go, and then maybe I end up with awesome results. Maybe my results suck, and maybe I got to find something different. But Dr. Gould is the first person that I've ever spoken to who seems to be interested in attacking the root cause of sleep apnea. And all I've really ever heard before is like, get a sleep apnea machine. And I've used a sleep apnea machine. Will I go back and do one, use one again? Of course I will, if it's needed. But I just had a hard time adapting to it. It was difficult for me. So instead I'm going this route, and I'm getting fitted for a mouthpiece. I got fitted for a mouthpiece already. I should have it within a couple of days. And we'll see if that helps. I know Joe Rogan has had experience with a mouthpiece for his sleep, and he said it helped a ton. It helped to kind of keep his tongue where it needed to be while resting. And so for me, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my tongue while I'm sleeping, but whatever it is, it ain't good. It ain't working now. So I'm willing to give all these things a go. And so far, it seems like it's already working pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you're someone who uses a CPAP right now, I know that a lot of bodybuilders like using it, because a lot of bodybuilders, they get that problem because of the thick necks. But imagine if you could fix some of these issues and not have to use a device to fall asleep every night. I've always found that a little bit odd in terms of sleep apnea. Like, you don't have the solution to the actual problem. So you just use this device to help you, breathe at night. And that's supposed to be what you're supposed to use for the rest of your life. There should really be a better way to deal with this. The mouthpiece,
there has to be. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some other options that are different or better. I use mouth tape. I put a strip on my nose, breathe right strip on my nose. I have an eye mask. It's like, at this point, it looks like I'm wearing a whole helmet. I got something covering every part of my head, basically, to try to figure it out. And it's helping, it's all helping, but the mouth tape isn't a solution either to sleep apnea. It could help some people that have mild sleep apnea, I suppose. It could help some people that end up, breathing in and out of their mouth at night. But I think there has to be like a bigger intervention. Something different has to happen. And so that's why I've been exploring this. I didn't know how it was going to work. I still don't know if it's actually working. Maybe maybe some of this is mental. Maybe some of this is like, I want it to work, and so therefore it's working. But I'll be able to actually measure all this soon when I have this ring that I ordered. It's supposed to check it's a pulse oximeter. It does a bunch of other stuff.
What's it called?
I can look it up. Okay. But I'll be able to actually measure it, and I'll be able to actually tell you guys, like, and then I'll do another sleep study, and I'll have at least a one person study done, and I can say this, this cured me, or this helped a lot, or this maybe it doesn't cure me. Maybe there's a possibility that I just never figure out how to get 8 hours of sleep, and I actually do believe, like, Corey Gregory a little bit when he says that he doesn't think that he needs 8 hours of sleep. I guess there are people with certain genes that only need like 5-6 hours of sleep, or 6 hours of sleep. But I do think that if you treat your body a certain way, you might be able to get away with not sleeping as much. But I don't know. Again, it's speculation. But maybe if you eat better, maybe you're recovering better from stuff anyway. Take care of yourself better. I mean, it sounds reasonable.
Just think about that logically. Yeah, if you do get better sleep quality, you breathe better at night. You can, versus somebody who has bad sleep and bad sleep hygiene, you're going to get more out of that 6 hours of sleep than somebody who's trying to stay asleep at nine hours, and they have really bad sleep hygiene. They were staring at screens before they went to bed. Their circadian rhythm's messed up. You're going to get more out of 6 hours in recovery and everything than that person who got 9 hours of quote unquote sleep.
Right.
It just makes sense. You don't really need to research that. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to what Mark said about the like your fasting can basically like kill off old cells and then you create new ones. I mean, that we have evidence of this. Like
no. Autophagy happens all the time, but with fasting, it's accentuated. Like it happens a little bit more. That's all.
Okay.
You're going through autophagy all day long. It's happening every single day, 24/7. But when you fast, and even adding in caffeine into a fast, it can happen faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it.
And then, so like people that flexible dieters that shit on autophagy all the time, is that just because they're talking about like it doesn't matter because it's calories in, calories out? But what you guys are talking about is beyond.
That's the thing.
That, right? Is that the reason why it gets kind of shit on?
Yeah, and this is also like a pretty deep fast, so it's it's much different.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons. Well, when flexible dieters talk about fasting and they're like, oh, the bullshit autophagy thing, it's because, yes, maybe autophagy doesn't have that big of an effect on, losing weight. But we're not just talking about the weight loss benefits. We're talking about the potential long-term health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why, like, again, I did flexible dieting. I still do flexible dieting along with fasting. Like it's all intertwined. But when I see people that are really into that flexible dieting sphere, the IFYM sphere, and that's what they do, and they look at all these diets, and it's like they paint these diets in a very negative way. I'm like, yo, can you not understand the nuances to why this can be beneficial for certain individuals, even though we understand that calorie deficits do matter? Can you not for some reason wrap your head around that? Or is it just like because it's a special diet and you're paying attention to the individuals that put it over everything, now you just got to demonize it for some reason? It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Right. And I think that most people know that if you're just not over fat, you are most likely to stay fairly healthy as long as you have like some decent practices. And so I think that's what you kind of see from the flexible dieting crowd. They are a lot of times, kind of talking or preaching about, just being healthier and not necessarily like being jacked and not necessarily being on like the top end of performance or anything like that. And so when you think about, okay, just have a reasonable diet where you factor in calories and you pay attention to what you put in every day, and you also are being mindful of how much energy you expend every day, makes a lot of sense. Like if I just, if I was 180 pounds when I graduated high school and I just kind of always stay around 180 pounds, I'll probably be pretty damn healthy. I'll probably get to whatever life expectancy is, and give or take 3 years one way or the other, I'll be able to go one way or the other. If I gain 60 pounds, yeah, there you go. That's it.
Ooh.
If I gain 60 pounds, then, I might run into complications a little sooner. If I when you come out of high school, if you gain 30, 40, 50 pounds, as you go through college and then you start a career and you gain another 20 pounds, that's where people start to really run into a lot of problems. And if you were mindful of your caloric intake, that can be a strategy that can really, really work. But we've seen keto diets work really well for people. I think where sometimes people can fall off is when they start they get excited, and then they get bashed. And so the whole community gets bashed because if one person got really pumped and said, ketones are going to save your life. Ketones are anti-cancer. Ketones are everything. And that's all that matters, and you can eat way more on a keto diet. And The research doesn't show that. There are some studies, I believe, that show that on a ketogenic diet, you can eat a small amount more. And when I say small amount, it's like 300 or 400 calories. Maybe to somebody that's a lot. I don't know. But 300 to 400 calories every day. And you know, how do they do these studies? Like, how accurate is that? Like, I don't trust that. Like, I don't really know. It does seem to make some sense that if your body has to use more energy to turn the fatty acids that it's getting from your nutrition into a ketone, that there's probably some sort of working process there that probably costs something, because you need like energy to do some of these things.
Yeah.
But I just think after a certain point, it's like, man, I'm just really overthinking this stuff. And if we have people in a certain caloric range, we know that they can end up managing their weight really well. How accurate is it? Like, I don't really know. You know, I'm a huge proponent of, you know, believing that the calories, you know, represent what they represent outside the body, but I also don't think they represent exactly what we think when they're inside the body. That does not mean that we can't use it and still develop some sort of accurate way to make sure that you're able to manage your weight.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, because there could be two individuals, the same exact weight, the same exact body composition, right? But one individual's maintenance, and even it could be even they have very similar lifestyles, but one individual's maintenance is 2,000 calories and the other individual's maintenance is 2,500. Like, there could be that range. So that's why when we think about calorie deficit, everybody, even around the same weight, everybody's calorie deficit is a little bit different than the other person's calorie deficit, right? So that same amount is doing something different in that person's body and that person's body.
Yeah, and I would say, like, what were you doing previously too? Like, these things have to be factored in. What's your body tuned up to do? What's it sensitized to do? What has it adjusted to do? Because when we think about our training, you know, Chad Wesley Smith had a great way of saying, let's not do stuff that we're not prepared for. So let's always have a preparatory phase for what we're about to do next. That's the great thing about hiring a coach. If someone hires someone like you, they know not only you're going to help them drop weight, they're going to get to this new weight, and then you're going to say, hey, you know, we just lost 20 and we lost it pretty quick. Let's just kind of, I know you're going to be uncomfortable with this. Let's just kind of chill here for a bit. Okay. And actually, all next week, we're actually going to bring your calories up, and they're going to go, what? Like, what are we doing? Don't worry about it. Relax. They might gain 2-3 pounds. They might gain a little bit more even, but you're playing a long game, and you know that in the end, they're going to continue to work their way towards their goal. When you're out there kind of doing some stuff by yourself, you don't always know what's around the corner, but you know, what is your body ready to do? What is your body ready to commit to? And we talk about this all the time. Don't go adding in way too much stuff. Like this 5-day fasting, let me gather all the information, and I will come back to you guys and give you more information to where you can follow along. I don't really want you to follow along now, because I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to get like messed up. If you want to try a 1-day fast, sounds reasonable. Sounds fine. Make sure you have your electrolytes. I would do it on an off training day if you're not all that familiar with fasting. Maybe a week down the road, maybe you try another 1-day fast. Maybe it's on a training day, but again, be cautious. Make sure you have your electrolytes in there. Drink water, things like that. If you want to try this 5-day fast, I would just hold off until I continue to gather more information. But you can also look up Walter Longo, gather information yourself. Go on the Prolong site, check that out. Peter Itea talks quite a bit about fasting, and you know, there's a lot of great resources out there. I think
Cole Robinson.
Yeah.
He'd just have you jump into a water fast.
Yeah, Cole Robinson is you know what? He's a maniac with it, but he's great, and he will help you for free. I don't know if he still does that, but he was helping people for free. All he required them to do is put up a before picture on Facebook, which ain't easy to do. That's going to be hard for a lot of people, but he wanted you to expose that side of yourself so that you can, you know, commit to it. He wanted that as part of your commitment level. So, Cole Robinson is a great resource.
Yeah.
We need to have him back on the show. It's
Yeah, I'm curious what he's been up to recently.
he might be like we were talking about having these kind of super podcasts, you know,
Mhm.
and he might be a good person to have on because he's more rough and rugged around the edges,
Yeah.
and have him on with someone like Joel Green.
Huh.
Wow. Yeah, that would
'Cause
be
I know
an
that
amazing
Joel-
convo.
I know that Joel has done a lot of fasting in his life, and he told me, one of the first conversations I ever had with him, he told me how much he messed himself up with fasting.
Yeah.
And
Really?
he
Yeah,
was
I
like,
remember.
I over fasted. And yeah, when he found out about like, one meal a day and some of this stuff, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but I think he was working out a lot, and I think he was fasting a lot. And, he just maybe took it too far. So it'd be interesting to have, I don't think they're going to like, argue a lot, but I think that it'd be good to hear each person's talking points,
Absolutely. And I do think it's very possible, because I've done it. It's very easy to go a little bit too far in one direction when it comes to fasting. Because I remember it was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2019 when this happened. Like I was doing one meal a day and I was working out a lot, and I was trying to lean out a little bit. I got to like 7%, but I was like, feeling a little frail. Like this, I need to put some body fat back on. So I started, loosening things up a little bit, giving myself days where I ate and days where, okay, maybe I'll fast on these days. And then I was able to find that happy medium where like some days I'll fast, some days I'll have breakfast and eat through the day. I figured that out, but I had to go a little bit too far to do it. Right. And it wasn't like, when I say going too far, it wasn't like things weren't dangerous, but I was frail. I was feeling weaker because there's just too lean.
You feel like you're getting the amount of food that you need
Yes.
every day now?
Now I do. Yeah. And that's the thing though. Like that's the wild part about it, because some days I'll eat way less. I'll still eat a good amount of protein, but some days I'll have very minimal fat, very minimal carbs. And then other days when I'm just like, okay, maybe I can just feel that I need more food. Right. And it's like, at this point, it's a very intuitive thing, but I'm staying at the same energy level every day. My workouts are staying at the same level every single day, and I have very differing days as far as my food is concerned in terms of my carbohydrate and my fat intake. My carbohydrate intake is a majority of the time still low, still under 100 every single day. It's rare that I go over that, but my fat intake will range. Some days it'll be 70, some days it'll be 150. Like it just depends on the day. Depends how I'm feeling.
I think one of the greatest things anyone can adapt to is a time restricted feeding. You could look at it either way. You can do intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding. They're basically kind of saying the same thing in some different ways.
Yeah.
Figuring out an eating window that's reasonable. It looks like a lot of the research points to as much as 10 hours being worthwhile to explore. The 16-8 model was something that's been researched a little bit. So I just, when we started the show, we were talking about soda, and we were talking about like how fucking useless soda should be. We should get ourselves to a point where we're like, you know what, like it's pretty much just garbage, and I need to figure out. It's smoking. I mean, sometimes when people in the fitness industry say certain things, I think people are like, that's a fitness freak. Like that guy's. He loves fitness so much that he's going to say that shit. But I really I view some of these things as just, they're not giving you, they're not improving your life enough. Again, I can understand alcohol and I can understand certain foods. These sodas and this shit like that is not improving your life enough. It's not worth the flavor. The burrito, I can agree with you. I can say, hey, I understand. This is all just opinion. I'm not saying that this is a fact that I have here, but I'm just trying to kick it to you straight in a way that makes sense. Like, I just don't think the sodas are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can, start to figure out a way to get yourself away from that, if you can figure out a way to employ a little bit of intermittent fasting, these time-restricted feeding windows are amazing, because now the battle is, shit, man, can I get in the right amount of nutrients in the day? You're like, I'm supposed to have a little bit of like calcium, but I know that taking a calcium supplement isn't the same as getting calcium from my food. So I need some dairy. Like, oh, I need some cheese, or I need some yogurt, whatever it is. You have a dairy source in there somewhere. You know, if you're on a diet like what we're on, you're looking for some meat. Maybe you only ate chicken for the day and you're like, I could probably still use the steak because I want the B vitamins and some of the benefits of eating grass-fed steak. I didn't get in any vegetables at all today. It'd be a great idea for me to get in a little bit of vegetables. Now you're starting to examine that and you're like, I got 6 hours. You know, I got basically 2 meals to be able to get all that in. Now it's like your brain switches over into like, I have an opportunity to demolish fucking food. I have an amazing opportunity to stuff myself. You and I have talked about this a bunch. And Nsima and I love to just pig out and get our stomach all distended.
Yep.
It's an amazing feeling. I'll probably never get over that. I'll probably always want to do that. And maybe that's not the best way of doing it, but when you bring that time restricted feeding window down, now you're talking about, oh, I get to have this steak. I get to have this. I get to have that. Rather than you saying like, oh, I got to eat another steak again. You're fucking hungry.
Yeah.
And you're ready. You're ready to eat those calories. And for you being somebody, you know, who's performing and competing against other people physically, it's really important that you have all your boxes checked, have all your nutrients every day. So where, you know, somebody else who's trying to lose a little, they're trying to get a little leaner, they got a little bit more play with some of that. But for you, if you start missing out on minerals and vitamins and stuff like that, some of your performance might decline. You can't afford that.
Absolutely not. And that, like, this is where I think that fasting is so beneficial. It's not, you know, it's not because of your specific calories, because people always talk about, well, if you could just have the same amount of calories throughout the day, why are you going to fast? I understand that. It's the habit change. It's the becoming less food focused. Even though I was in decent shape before I started doing fasting, I was extremely food focused. I would have a meal in the morning and like, oh, when's my next meal going to come? And then I'd have that meal and like, oh, when's my next meal going to come? Like, I was always thinking about food and thinking about my next snack and thinking about the Ben and Jerry's that's going to be at the end of the day. I was extremely food focused. But by doing this and having a window set that I'm going to eat then, and I'm just going to do everything else during the day, I'm only going to worry about eating at this time, that was amazing in terms of helping me to control my body composition. I think that people diet, and you'll see this a lot with like bodybuilders and people within that realm, because they'll diet and they'll eat throughout the whole day, but they're still food focused. They're manipulating their body composition up and down. But you talk to these people and they're like, can't wait to my next meal, right? They're thinking about food all the time. How about if you don't have to worry about it anymore? How about you just like, oh, I'm eating, you know, from 12 to 6, and that's when I'm going to have my 2 meals. And that's literally it. Like, you're going to enjoy yourself, but you're not focused on it anymore. That can help with people that feel that they are addicted to food. And I do think that I was fairly addicted to food before. I loved it. I still love food, but I'm not addicted to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just in comparison from yesterday, I fasted all day till I got home and ate dinner. Had 2 Piedmontese flat iron steaks, was incredible. Today, I'm like, oh, like I have 2 more shows left to do. I'm going to sneak in some food right now. And so I had some chicken and rice. And I am significantly hungrier today than I was yesterday when I didn't eat. Yeah. You know, it's like night and day different. Like yesterday, I didn't even think about food. Today, I'm like, text my wife, like, hey, babe, can you get some steaks ready to go? But it's just crazy.
Nsima, did you eat today yet?
No.
Did you eat today, Andrew?
Yeah. That's.
How long ago did you eat?
So I ate like around 11.
And you're fairly hungry now, right?
I'm really hungry. Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 7?
Yeah. 6, 7, somewhere.
10 being like dangerous.
Yeah, 10 being like I'm gonna get sick if I don't eat soon.
Yeah, so you're like a 7?
6, yeah, because I'm not dying.
6,
like
okay.
if we had a podcast again, like I'd be like, oh shit, let me grab like, I don't know, whatever I have in the fridge, but like, no,
or if
I'm fine.
Some weird circumstances happen and you couldn't eat today, you'd be totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. And then how hungry are you on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think?
I'm not hungry right now. I had I had some element before rolling and a pack after, and then another pack, because I was just thirsty. Like I could tell I was dehydrated. But
does exercise for you, does it sometimes push your hunger down a little bit? Yeah. I know sometimes for me it does. Sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, like I'm actually really hungry after that. But other times with, you know, some tough physical activity, I'm like, I don't really care to eat right now.
It's odd. Like sometimes I'll feel hungry after, but it's a pulse. It's literally a pulse. Like you'll feel hungry after, then if you wait like 20 minutes, it just goes away. That's how, I mean, that's how it always works. But I haven't eaten since 8 yesterday. I'm not really feeling hungry right now, but I know when I go home, I need to cook up some food and eat. And then once I eat, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to eat like 3 steaks tonight, and some eggs.
I know that people probably think
Sounds
we're
amazing.
I know that people probably think we're fucking crazy
Yeah.
when we're talking about this, but trust us when we tell you, like, it's going to tug on your shirt, it's going to tug on you like a little kid, pulling on, hey dad, check this out. It's going to pull on you for a little while, but unlike a little kid, it will give up at a certain point. A little kid won't give up. They want you to see what they're doing. But your hunger, at a certain point, it will just drop off, and it will be like, hey, appears that this guy's not going to feed us, man. We should probably fuck off for a little while.
Yeah.
And it will come back again later. But trying to fend those off, and you have to fend them off several times a day, there's a lot of research showing that those spikes happen throughout the day with or without food. And I would say, Andrew, we're probably the same in terms of how and I haven't eaten any real solid food in days. So I'm not exponentially any hungrier than you would think I would be.
Yeah. And I know for a fact if I didn't eat, I wouldn't be this hungry. But I just knew that today was going to be, it was a jam-packed day. So I just wanted to make sure, I should probably get some, some nourishment.
Well, there's a balance to this, though, because you're also working on being more jacked. So you got to get
that's right. Yeah. So that was
you need some fuel.
That was another big part of it. We trained yesterday, and then last night I did have a rough night of sleep. It was not the baby's best night, so I did wake up hungry, and so that also played a huge part of it because I'm like, well, fuck, I trained. I got to get some some calories in here. Like I don't want to throw away yesterday's workout. Like thinking like a old school like bro type mentality when really I'd be fine. But because I did eat, I am hungry now.
And let's be real, guys. Like as we're talking about this, this isn't some like fasting competition who can fast the most and who can stay away from food the most. But like
Mark's winning though.
Mark is absolutely winning. But we're putting this forward just to kind of show you again, like it's not like you'll feel ravenously hungry. I think it does take a bit of time to get to that point where you're used to that feeling of hunger. But when you do get there, it's pretty dope. Like that you don't feel controlled by hunger. I think that for me is the biggest benefit of fasting. You don't feel controlled by your hunger pulse because most people, you get that pulse, you reach for some food.
I'm hangry
all the time. Then once you eat that first meal, then now you're hungry throughout the whole day and you're always reaching because of that. But imagine if that didn't control you.
And fast long enough to where it promotes good healthy practices, but don't fast so long that it allows for the bad habits to creep back in. If you're somebody that is going to binge, then again, your fasting didn't work. It was ineffective, and you need to admit that. You need to say, shit, man, I fasted a little too long. The last 3 days in a row when I fasted for 16 hours, that accumulated, that jumped on my back as that backpack scenario earlier. And it took me out. It took my ass out. You have to just, you got to admit defeat at that point and wave your flag and surrender and say, I got to go back to the drawing board. I got to do this again. Let me see what it looks like if I do 3 days of, maybe more intuitive fasting. Like, okay, I'm pretty hungry. Okay, I'll push that one off. Oh shit, I'm getting hungrier. I'll push that one off. And then that third one comes and you say, okay, I learned my lesson from last time. If I push this next one off, I'm going to binge. And you make a new decision. You learn from the errors that you made. But I think what we end up talking about so much on this show is, and we talked before about like financial freedom, and we've talked before about working towards getting the body that you want. But I think a really amazing thing to be able to earn, and it's very, very difficult to get, is food freedom. Having some freedom either to play around with more food or to enjoy some of the foods that you like, or just having freedom of not being tied down to food so much. I remember when I worked at Mass Movement, where we moved fitness equipment. When we get to work, we'd work for like 2 hours, and then we'd be starving.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, where are we going to grab some food? And it was usually like still breakfast time. We got there at like 7, and it would be like 9, 9:30, maybe 10. And then we would all like want to get something for breakfast, and none of us prepped meals or anything. So we didn't, and I never saw that kind of culture before. So we would just grab whatever we can grab, you know, in the truck as we're like bringing fitness equipment around or whatever.
Mm.
And then the conversation, even before the breakfast was gone, where are we going to lunch?
Mm.
And we were really tied to our food. And I remember, you know, getting home from that job, a manual labor job. It wasn't crazy intensive, but we had to move fitness equipment around. So at times it was. I remember getting back from that job and just being so hungry and making poor decisions too. And I was already somebody that lifted, and I had a good understanding of nutrition. I just ended up making some bad decisions. And, you know, after I worked there for like 2 weeks, I was like, this is okay. I need to start to bring some stuff with me, apparently, because otherwise I'm just going to make. And this was like 25 years ago or 20 something years ago. So there wasn't as many of the convenient, healthier foods around.
Mm.
I kind of learned like, oh shit, I should learn how to cook a little bit for myself. So, but I didn't bring a lot of stuff with me, and it wasn't complicated. I remember I would have a few like cheese sticks. I might bring a cooked meal. I might have a protein bar. Like it was as simple as I could, or it was as complicated as I could manage at the time, which wasn't very much.
Mm.
And so you're going to have to figure some of these things out in order to, you know, someday kind of earn your freedom away from being so attached to your food. And I think you'd like to get yourself to a point where you can say fuck it here and there, and it doesn't matter that much.
Mm-hmm.
You can be like, yeah, I ate a box of Oreos yesterday. You know, you could say that and be totally fine with it. I think it was about, well, I told you guys when I was in Hermosa with my wife, I had some pizza after dinner. I think, you know, 4 or 5 days prior, I was at home and my daughter was making some cookies, and I was like, there's absolutely nothing better in this world than I love than freaking cookie dough.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm kind of, you know, thinking about it in my head. I'm like, I'm going to have 3 like blobs of cookie dough. Like, just eat it, man. Like, you fucking love cookie dough.
Uh-huh.
Cookie dough is not like in my house that often. So I'm like, I'm just going to eat it and enjoy it. And you get your body and you get yourself to a certain point where that doesn't have a real negative impact on me. Does that enhance my life a little bit in some way? For me, it does. It's a pleasure thing. Like I like fucking cookie dough. It's great. Mm-hmm. I enjoy it. So eat some and hang out and have a good time. And my daughter was laughing. She's like, you're not supposed to eat that. You're going to get sick. You need to get the edible cookie dough. I was like, yeah, I've seen the edible cookie dough. I don't know who that's weird for, but
I think you've
all edible to me.
Yeah, I think over the years you've eaten so much cookie dough that you're now immune to getting sick from it. Your stomach can just handle that.
Yeah, they say that you'll get sick, but they are wrong.
I think, you know, by eating the regular cookie dough, I think it just helps you get more jacked, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but
gotta get some studies done on it.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead.
I was just say, but that, in a weird way, but that serves you. Drinking a Coke, you're going to drink a Coke and it's going to lead to like, fuck, I want some chips or something with this. But
if that's your favorite thing,
I guess, but get better taste.
Yeah, that,
you know.
Yeah, that I agree with. But literally, if it is your favorite thing, you know, I was telling you guys when I was eating that pizza crust, I was like, do I even like pizza crust, or am I just eating it because it's part of like me eating this pizza? And I was like, I don't really like it that much. It's just extra calories. I'm like, I don't need it. I'm like, fuck this pizza crust.
Yeah. But this is the thing with that cookie dough story. Remember, you don't keep cookie dough in the house. You do not have cookie dough every day. It just happens to be there. You really like cookie dough. You had the cookie dough. Now, let's say that Coke, let's not diss the people out there that love their Coke, right? What if they're like, I love Coca-Cola. What if it makes them feel like some nostalgia from childhood? Like my daddy would give me a Coke when we'd go out fishing and I just love Coke. Maybe that's what it is, right?
A Chipotle burrito with a Coke is fucking great.
Right? But so how can we figure out, it doesn't serve you, but how can you figure out that you don't have to drink Coke every single day and you could make a time to enjoy it safely? You know, I think that's possible, right?
Absolutely.
So
have one, you know, like if you go to a restaurant, you know, they'll keep so you have to kind of that's kind of hard because they come over and they pour it right away because they think they're doing you a favor. And you're like, oh shit,
trying to get that tip.
You know, yeah. Try to switch to like an iced tea or something, or try to switch to just switch to water or something. It's tough, but like if you do one, I think all of us can agree that sounds reasonable. You doing one a week even like sounds totally reasonable. Doing 2 or 3 a week still sounds pretty reasonable.
Doing a 2 liter
I was gonna say, yeah, like as long as it's not a big gulp, you know.
A big gulp from 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Or drinking like 2 or 3 a day, which most Americans do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sugar considering that everything else that we eat has sugar in it. Our salad dressings, our
ketchup,
marinara sauce, ketchup. I mean, just fucking everything. Everything has sugar in it. Look at the food labels, and you'll see that a large amount of stuff has food in it. So it probably wouldn't be as problematic if everything we had. I mean, even like sausage and bacon will have sugar in it. There's lots of reasons to put sugar in stuff. Sometimes it's a preservative. Sometimes it's just an added thing to make something, the flavor pop in there a little bit. So it's everywhere.
If we could put like a goal on some, if somebody does drink, we'll say a can of Coke, how many like 10-minute walks to receive 1 can of Coke do you think it would take? And I'm not talking like, oh, let's figure out how many calories are burned and blah, blah, blah. Just for somebody out there that's like, well, hey, I'm planning on having one today.
I think if you walked like 3 miles or so, that'd probably be good.
You go.
Yeah. Give yourself a Coke for that. But yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I know that's kind of like a slippery slope too.
Yeah.
But at least, maybe it'll get somebody to, well, shit, he said 3, I'm going to do 1. And then the next day, maybe they actually get there.
You can just Google like how many calories, an hour of walking burns or whatever, and kind of get to some sort of, it's not like a.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
That's too much.
But I was going to say, man, like, I do think it is very beneficial for people to really start paying attention to like, what's on their food labels for their Frappuccino from Starbucks. Because when I found that out for a Starbucks Frap when I was younger, I was like, what? And then the Costco muffins are quite literally, you can't eat a full one. I used to eat full Costco muffins, by the way. I think each of those muffins is maybe a cool 500 calories.
Yeah. They're just cake.
They're literally like
each. It's like a full cake.
And I know, I know people that buy those and they'll have a muffin a day. But they usually do like a muffin and a half a day, and they don't realize, like, dude, that's like 700 calories and pure
wild.
Like this. And the thing is also, people look at muffins, like poppy seed muffins, as
that's a healthy alternative.
It's your healthy alternative.
Yeah, because I'm not eating eggs and bacon. Ugh.
It's kind of skewed.
Yeah, that shit's dangerous though, because I grew up in a household where my parents would get like the big case of muffins, and that would sit on the counter, and that was like, hey, if you're on the run, like that's what you grab.
Muffin.
That's just what you do. Grab that in a coffee. It's like fuck.
Yeah, and it's horrible.
It's so bad.
And you somehow think that's food. It's not.
Yeah, like you were talking about that with Wayne. Like, it's not actual food.
That's the biggest issue with it. It's giving you some nutrients, but they're not really helpful to like filling you up. They're not really helpful to getting the nutrients that you need in a day. An hour of walking burns about 210 to 360 calories for most people. Obviously, this would vary quite a bit.
Yeah.
So how many 10-minute walks does it take to burn off a can of Coke? It would probably be about 10. Which ain't that bad, but it'd probably be about 10. But I do think that if you were to think about your food consumption in a very simple fashion and just understand that under normal circumstances, you would have to expend energy to get energy. You'd have to expend energy to get food, to get to food. That when you have your food, you can start to kind of think about, what did I do for today? How many carbs do I need? Okay, we're going to have pasta tonight. Like, did I do that much today? And if you didn't, you can just think about, maybe I can do a little more tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't want to make it too, you don't want to like abuse yourself because you made a bad decision or something like that. It doesn't have to be anything like that, but just say, I'm going to exercise a little bit more tomorrow rather than a 20-minute, walk that I was going to go for. I should actually lift tomorrow too, because I had a pretty big ass dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Balance it out.
How tall are you? Someone just asked.
6'2".
Okay, so I gave you 6'3". But,
Oh hell no!
But because I wasn't sure. I'm like, damn, when was the last time I stood next to him? But yep.
Yeah.
All right, 6'2". Okay.
I'd like to say I am, but that would be a lie.
But your 6'2" is a lot of other people's 6'4".
Oh yeah, yeah. People lie a lot.
Yeah, you're an honest 6'2", is everyone else is not for real. I'm 6'4".
Yeah, no, I'm not 6'2". I mean, I'm not 6'3".
Got it.
But yeah.
Out talling him.
Down here.
Take us on out of here, Andrew.
I will. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Sincerely appreciate it, especially everybody on the live chat. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you guys hanging out here, hitting that like button. It does help. And yeah, we did talk about some things that may or may not get us in trouble again, but it was worth it. Please make sure you're following the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on Twitter. Where else? We got the newsletter coming out. I'm going to hopefully get to that issue that Nsima just put together by the end of this week. So make sure you guys register ASAP to receive that newsletter. Also follow us on Clubhouse at all our separate handles. Mine is at I am Andrew Z on Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse. Nsima, where are you at?
And Nsima Inyang on Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse. Nsima Inyang on Twitter. Mark?
Don't forget to catch the Natty Professor. He's going to be on Super Training 06 YouTube channel with some great content for y'all. I don't know when that's being released. Do you?
Soon.
Yeah,
Soonish.
soon. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.